to be super aggressive like that, going for early invades. I think Wukong is a great call out. I wonder if Rio has things like a pocket Lee Sin or a pocket Nidalee that he can look to. Hell, I would not be against an Elise. Maybe not necessarily the best invading jungler, but it is one that if you just want to make plays early on and just start snowballing, let's get crazy. Let's get funky with it.
Yeah, let's just go crazy. Like, crazy is a great word. So many things are still left up. I understand that we're going into a game 4, but there have been a lot of unique picks in this draft already. Things like Ashe Seraphine that we're not seeing a lot of. Things like Anivia that are very specific counters. The LeBlanc in game number 1. A lot of power picks are very much still on the board. That is especially true for bot lane 2v2s. EDG, just throwing it down. First pick Lulu. We are playing for leave in this game, and we're going to try and make that happen as quickly as we can.
I think this is an excellent time to just start shifting your priority to giving Leave the keys to the kingdom in this game 4. But OMG are not going to let an Aphelios Lulu pair go uncontested. So they snipe away one half of it, and if you're not going to pair it with an enchanter, you might as well pair it with Thresh so that you give him the freedom to reposition safely out of any dangerous scenarios that EDG might try to bring upon Starry.
Yeah, I love this from OMG. Obviously, not only taking away the Aphelios, which most people consider to be Leave's best champion, but pairing it up with something that can be a really big playmaker for Moham. We know he prefers to be somebody who likes to start fights rather than enable them. We've seen him be successful on other options, but the Yunara, I mean, the premier hyper carry in the meta is still left up on the board with a Lulu. Certainly a bold throwdown from OMG saying, we're so scared of the Aphelios that we have to take it away and give you the stronger champion in a lot of people's eyes, but we'll see how they end up going with that. It's actually the Trundle lock-in from Xiaohao that could even limit the jungle pool more for Rio that we've already talked about getting pinched so much. Trundle really eliminates a lot of options you might want to go for.
Yeah. Even stat checkers like Volibear, like the next other jungler that could be like a decent skirmisher, now loses priority value because Trundle just pretty much saps stats from anyone that wants to fist fight him. So if you're even like taking a Lee Sin, you can never fist fight the Trundle. You just have to kite away. At this point, Rio, I'm looking at a Kindred. Maybe something that can maintain that range advantage so that you can at least feel confident in pushing Xiaohao around. But also with the Subjugate, that also pushes Rio off of playing for any tanks because you just locked in a Gnar for Hery. So Subjugate on whoever is the sole frontliner is going to get insane amount of value.
Things are getting really interesting right now in this draft phase. I have no idea where OMG are pointing in terms of the end of this draft. I'm usually, pretty locked in on what these guys like to play. I have a pretty good idea of maybe what somebody like Haichao might want to prioritize. We could see some aggressive mid laners come out. Remember, this is a guy who is kind of really re-broken out because he's been prioritizing these assassins a little bit more. That being said, like the Yorick ban coming out to make sure that this Gnar isn't punished too much, you're spot on. These carry junglers getting banned out. Neferi kind of has to be the major option here, but there are a lot of carry junglers that are right below that tier of like the super elite engagers right now that are all kind of clustered together. You mentioned the Kindred. We've seen some Lee Sin, as you pointed out, over the past couple of games in the LCK. Certainly could be something that, we at least get a look at for a team comp like this. But it's going to be the Kennen, again, just lane bullies for the Gnar that you want to get out of the way. Hery has kind of been a secretly great laner across this split, something he really hasn't been throughout a lot of the past couple of years. They really want to get him into a position where he can main tank.
Banning out Haichao's Akali, just denying what could have been a decent assassin threat into Leave anytime he is not protected by a Lulu polymorph. OMG are going to have to reveal their cards. Oh my god. I mean, that's bold, though, into a Trundle, because Trundle can always interrupt the Elastic Slingshot with the pillar. He can subjugate it. He can turn this Zac into a pile of goo. But if this is Rio's last option, man, listen, I want to be hype about the Zac pick. I really do. But this is probably one of the worst times to pick it in because of how easy it is for you to out-interact the Zac as Trundle.
Yeah, I mean, this is bold. I think that's a fair way to say it. Bold is the word I would be looking for. Some hovers on the other side. I won't bother talking about anything until it gets locked in. the Zac does, in theory, pair well with what you have right now, because you have a ton of setup with the Gnar and the Thresh, and the Zac can also create plays for the Aphelios in the late game, but you're right. This Trundle is going to really, really have a fun time in the early game. Nidalee top as the answer to Gnar.
I didn't know ZDZ was nice like that. And I don't think it's a Trundle top either. I think it has to be Nidalee top so that you can match range for range, still play for lane advantage.
Yeah.
I think there has been a couple of top laners around the world that have reverted or gone back to the Nidalee top recently. We would have to dig up some stats, but this champion, for any LPL fans, know that is very well associated with the Shy, who brought it back into prominence on IG last year. All about the Trinity Force build, and then using the power of a lot of those bruiser items. Early on, you're a big lane bully. You can push around even other ranged champions and maintain some prio because you have sustain off of your E. But also, later the game goes on, there's like a mid-game dip where Nidalee kind of feels, why did I pick this champion? She doesn't really do anything. And then at level 16, 3 items, she's suddenly like a super oppressive flanking, not necessarily assassin, but she's a bruiser that can somehow also like one-shot your carry, which is just crazy. But that's just how her kit works.
It's insane, and these drafts in general are insane. We're talking about a mostly full AD comp on the other side with the Yone and the Aphelios for OMG here. You've got the Zac that can functionally be some AP, but I mean, this is a comp that's going to be really susceptible to Trundle in the later part of the game, but it scales so well. If Yone gets gold in this game, who is stopping this Yone? Genuinely, who is taking that champion down on the other side of this matchup? But it's not like you don't have scaling on the other side. Yes, you've got a Nidalee Trundle on the top side, but Victor Yunara with a Lulu, these late games could get really explosive really fast, and that means gold leads need to be very careful in this game.
Let's see how this game is thrown down as we hit Summoner's Rift for Game 4 between EDG and Oh My God. Aggressive level 1's coming in, and the gyos are getting louder, knowing the tension of this series is starting to rise and could potentially peak at an all-time high if we go to game number 5. And really good word coverage from EDG on the Raptor camp as well as the Krug camp, gonna spot out Rio already on the top side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be such an important start for both of these junglers. I talked about the scaling kind of coming in from both sides. It's very possible that we have a pretty slow early game, all things considered. You don't really want to make too many mistakes if you're either one of these teams, but that also means that if there are mistakes that are made, big leads that are gotten from places that maybe aren't entirely expected, that could be a big, big game changer. Xiaohao, early invade here onto Rio.
Rio early smited! Oh no! Can he still get it? No! It's a disaster! It's such a disaster for Rio! He's going to be forced to use the elastic slingshot, can at least preserve the passive, but early smiting it. Oh, that's... And you're not going to get any of these camps, my friend. Yeah, Xiaohao can just bully him. He's level 2 Trundle. He just owns this guy. He's just going to flash on top, knowing that the elastic slingshot is on a massive cooldown, rank 1, and that forces the flash out of the Zac.
And this is exactly what we were talking about. You can't afford to be put behind like this in the early game. Xiaohao just showcasing the comfort level that he has. Haichao having to be a little bit defensive under his tower here as the Yone. I mean, this is a nightmare situation for OMG at the start of the game here. Rio just in the worst spot possible.
Poor
Level
Rio.
2 recalling here on the Zac. Haichao going to invade. His red buff is up, but he knows he can't have it. It's going to be another takeaway here from the Trundle.
I think Xiaohao was trying to cross between 2 towers when he first popped the frozen domain. I like low-key, he looked at the wave, he's like, it's pushed in. Maybe I can just cross in. I mean, what is Yone gonna do? Okay, the minion wave died. All right, I'm gonna have to take the long way around. And at least Rio is able to secure some Krugs for himself. But we talked about this, Kman. Zac is hype, but into Trundle, it is just so hard to pilot this around. if Rio can somehow survive and find ways to get levels on himself, it's not even about the gold at this point. He just needs levels so that he can get points into his Q and more into his elastic slingshot, so he'll have better mobility and more uptime on the cooldown. ZDG looking for a dive onto Hery, forcing the flash out of the Gnar. Hery's about to go mega if he can get a couple more auto attacks in, but the pressure from ZDZ's Nidalee, again, something that I was not expecting this game, but I'm definitely super excited to see it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not a good start for the Zac. He has equalized out at least a little bit. He's still going to be very far behind in terms of his just overall tempo, but not the worst position for this champion to be in. Certainly not nearly as bad as Rio was in the previous game that we saw on the Nocturne. Much more playable, and I think specifically it just identifies their comp a little bit more. OMG really want to be scaling. They really don't have a lot to do in the early game right now, especially if Haichao is not going to be in this dominant position on the Yone. That's the one lane that you're really looking at and potentially seeing an advantage in, but if you just want to take it passive, if you just want to play it safe, there is a potential endgame where the Zac and the Thresh and the Gnar can find these engages to allow the Aphelios Yone to take over. It's going to be hard to imagine a Lulu and a Trundle not being relevant there, but Nidalee's damage could fall off, and Rio could still make some plays.
And he does have a Dark Seal. Decent AP scalings on this Zac. First elastic slingshot gank is a miss. Does not find leave as he just merely sidesteps the oncoming attempt. And Rio is forced back into his jungle to try to pick up some camps.
Definitely going to be interesting to see how he plays out. You mentioned the Dark Seal. Xiaohao continues to invade and take camps away. Not really much the Zac can do about this in this instance, but Zac is the only form of AP on this OMG side. That is another big concern going into the late game. Trundle has pretty free reign to build a lot of armor in this game if he wants to go that route. Could definitely be a pretty big problem overall for OMG in the late game, as Hery could be in danger under his tower here.
There's no flash on this Gnar from before. Pillar, just for the easy chomp into the takedown from ZDZ. First blood for the Nidalee. But here's Rio to try to turn it around. Xiaohao still doesn't have flash available anymore. I take that back. Passive has been procced, and Haichao forced to use the Fate Seal just to get over the wall in time. Rio is slain, but ZDZ is now taking up turret shots, but Haichao cannot get back in range to punish the Cougar.
Obviously a fantastic trade for EDG, not only because they get 2 kills onto the Nidalee in the top lane, but Victor gets to equalize some of this gold that he had lost in the laning phase out by picking up some plates on the tower here. Decently nice play overall from EDG. It's still important that Haichao was able to pick up a kill there. When you talk about win conditions for OMG and ways they can get back into this game, it's going to be getting gold onto that Yone in particular in the mid lane matchup. So going to keep an eye on that, but this Zac not paying off right now. We see a couple of tomes in that inventory. This is looking like it's going to be an AP build, which definitely makes this game more interesting.
So, I'm still not a fan of picking this Zac into the Trundle. However, if your intention was to pick Yone, I started going through my head of like what other AP champions you could have picked for yourself and how there's been a lack of Dusk and Dawn junglers. Okay, we're going to hold this point. Rio is just getting his ass beaten down right now. Oh, oh no! Turn off the camera. Just go to game 5. He's building a Hextech alternator. He's going for Hextech Proto Belt. First rush Zac. Oh my goodness.
Raafaa, I gotta be honest, I'm not feeling the Zac pick right now. I love innovation. I love when teams get creative with it. I do not think we are about to see the big AP Zac pop-off moment. Hopefully I'm wrong. I hope he proves me wrong. That flash is just icing on top of the cake. It's really, really not looking good for Rio. And if we were concerned about his champion pull after 2 games, we're 4 games in now, and he's had 2 back-to-back games where his early games have been disasters on these new champions. It's genuinely a concern for him at this point. It's a 2.5k gold lead for EDG. Look at where that gold is. It's on the Nidalee, who you can fight around, especially with Grub spawning in 25 seconds. Dragon is on the map as well. Trundle should have no problem being able to contest that, being so much stronger and level 6 compared to Rio right now. Really a bad game state for OMG.
Rio's going to still try and look for ganks. 3 points in Elastic Slingshot can hit at least where that pixel brush is from behind the wall, but not far enough where Leaf was standing right outside of that circle. I guess Leaf has been playing against many a Zac to know the safe range at this point in the game. Xiaohao, however, is lurking around the corner, and Rio cannot contest for this dragon. Fight breaks out, 2v2, leave, forced to cleanse, flashes out of the Moonlight Vigil. And, yep, see, exactly. You watch the Zac wind up the EpicSkillshot and say, now sit your ass down. Here's a pillar. Countered.
Man, it's looking tough for the Zac right now. He's stayed in the area, though he's still looking. He's not on vision. He's going.
What? Okay, he catches him off guard. There's no chance for the pillar to interrupt him this time. And you know what? Rio gets paid. Persistence is rewarded, but just with a bite down from the back. Xiaohao's going to trade it, but Starry will at least pick it up. And OMG, we may not believe in the composition, but they are pushing through and trying to make it work anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a pretty big play overall. Again, I kind of believe in the idea for OMG in the late game. They just need to get there. Getting gold onto Starry definitely helps that out. So he continues to trade with Parukia here on the bot side, doing so much damage. You know, they prioritized this Aphelios as a takeaway from Leave. They wanted to make sure he didn't have it. Starry is going to be in a big spot to potentially try and set up this game. Again, it's looking pretty bad right now for OMG because of the Zac, but you do have some gold on your carries. They're both in spots where they should be able to play out the rest of this. There are some miracle fights that you could foresee that could potentially be played around this Yone, this Aphelios, if you get the right scenario.
Despite the early woes and the disaster that Rio has had to suffer through, I have to give him props that he has somehow caught up decently in form, and he is still persisting through and pushing for these gank opportunities. You still have to make the best of what champion kit that you locked in for yourself. And if somehow OMG are able to be competitive with EDG, I will happily paint clown makeup all over my face. Like, But right now, EDG still have the lead in terms of overall gold, 2,000. ZDZ is a majority of that advantage off of the pressure that has been put onto this top side. Very close to completing his Trinity Force. All 3 gubs completed for EDG. So ZDZ is even further empowered to split push against this Gnar.
I mean, that's what you draft the Nidalee for, right? It's basically guaranteed grubs as long as you actually want it. Dragon's still on the board. Has not yet been taken. Rio is going to start it here. This would be shocking if there was any time to even try and contest with that bot lane priority. Hery is 2 full levels down on this Gnar that they prioritize very heavily in draft. Again, I can see the vision. I can see the late game here. Hook landing.
Whoa! And Starry definitely sees Parukia dead on his screen. Moonlight Vigil from a nice Thresh setup combo by Moham. Eliminates Parukia from the Rift for 8 seconds. And Rio catches him on... Oh!
Very, very close. Very close, Leave. You gotta be super careful at this point in the game because as much as we've been clowning on the Zac pick and talking about how it's not working, this bot lane is 2-0-1. Starry's up 1,000 gold on Leave as an Aphelios. He's got Collector completed. This guy is strong. He is in a very good spot. It's very easy to play through an Aphelios in the late game, even with, you know, the Zac getting countered. If he can just buy enough time, that passive alone should be good for the Aphelios to be able to free hit on that backline. So plenty to play for here as Rio will only be getting more items. For now, he'll just continue to be farming up. First item completed for Xiaohao as well. Expect the Trundle to be active with that ultimate available.
Xiaohao is now the strongest member on the Rift. Flash forward from Starry. He just wants to eliminate Leave from the game right here, right now.
Oh.
But just not enough damage. Barely walks out alive. Xiaohao in the 2v2 skirmish with ZDZ just taking the turret, and he's able to fend them off by himself. Rio's forced to flash away as the Subjugate was coming in and sapping his HP bar.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the Zac right now. It's probably not going to look better specifically into the Trundle, but again, the idea of the Zac, especially building AP, is that, hey, if you ult me, I'm not all that tanky, actually. I'm building AP. I don't really have to worry too much about, you know, giving you all these free stats that you're going to be able to play with. Of course, Nidalee's going to have this huge advantage on the top side. It's what you draft that champion for, but as long as we're able to get our carries online, there is a way to play this out. Now, for EDG, their win condition is much, much simpler. Yes, all of the gold is on the Nidalee, but if you can transition that into Victor and Yunara in the late game, Lulu is massive in terms of shutting down basically everything OMG want to do. You definitely can't overlook that. Ironically enough, I think both teams have some tools, as EDG's bot lane could be getting baited.
Elastic slingshot onto 2, and Rio's AP proto belt sack lands the mark to set up Starry for 4 kills total in this game. I can't believe I'm saying it, but it's working out for OMG.
It is absolutely working out. Leave and Parukia just continue to disrespect the lack of vision, and this Zac is taking advantage of it. Starry has 4 kills on this Aphelios. This has all of a sudden become a very interesting game between these two teams. EDG is massive on the top side, but you talked about it, Raafaa. There will be a point in this game where it's going to be harder for the Nidalee to fight, even if she does come back online a little bit later. It is actually a little bit spicy the way that this game is set up. Still a 1k gold lead for EDG, but 2.5 of that is on your Nidalee on the top side, and you've now got to contend with an Aphelios who is very accelerated.
I'm just going to say, Kman, if Xiaohao loses this game,
Angel?
he is going to be so pissed. Rio looking to set up another engage onto Angel, flashing away from the Fate Sealed. And unfortunately for Rio, Zac, he is not able to make it out over the wall. There's a TP from ZDZ dealing with Haichao while Angel finishes off Rio in the passive. Does not connect the spear, but ZDZ, if he can get back into Cougar form, cannot do it in time and execute Haichao. He makes it out alive.
Yeah, that is a decently big mistake. One thing that will throw a wrench into plans for Aphelios is Victor getting a lot of gold as EDZ continues to pressure down. TP has to come in just to save Haichao under tower. Really not an ideal use of resources. You wanted Hery in that side lane to be able to get these free waves. Fortunately, not going to be the case. Xiaohao staying in the area, though.
And it's just like the story that we saw for the first few minutes of the game, where Xiaohao trying to set up this Nidalee for success, coming around. Pillar does not come out. Hery just using the hop to get out alive. The pressure has been felt, and Hery will still be able to pick up the majority of this wave. We're about 50 seconds away from the second dragon of the game. OMG were able to pick up the first one, and right now, it's all about how they can play through this Aphelios, who has a majority of their gold on their side. Is Angel dead? Oh, he was close.
I'm telling you, Raafaa, this Yone is scary. Like, this is a scary draft to be playing against a Yone who really has a lot of agency on the map in terms of the fights that he wants to take. There's really not a lot of mobility. If Lulu is not there, Trundle is not there especially. I mean, there's really no one that can stop this guy from just diving onto you and getting as much as he wants. Haichao is going to be a big deal at the end of this game. That's why I talk about it being important that Angel has 2 kills. Dragon is coming up in 3 seconds. Rift Herald on the map as well. Major objectives to fight over. It's really just where do those resources want to go. ZDZ, as we've talked about, is a majority of the gold for EDG. It's going to be hard to get him to a lot of these objectives with Teleport burned. If they want to go after something like Rift Herald, then they're going to have to do it without a lot of their gold.
And Starry is now 2 items on this Aphelios, Affinity Edge, as well as the Collector. I mean, my goodness. This Aphelios is kind of like a burst assassin at this stage in the game. He throws out the Moonlight Vigil, and depending on the gun rotation that he has, it could be a one-shot onto any of the squishies from EDG. Second dragon is secured for OMG, so they have a decent dragon stack win condition. It's a little late since it was delayed for Rio's first dragon of the game. Rift Herald secured for EDG, and we got a Cloud Soul game. Wow, that's actually really huge for a majority of these characters here, Kman.
It's actually huge for everyone. Like, it's really just one of those souls that you love to see. Rio and ZDZ saying hello to each other in the jungle as the Zac will make his way back out. The Cloud Soul is perfect for Aphelios. It's perfect for Yunara, Victor. Yone really makes big advantage of it. I mean, this is really kind of what you're looking to see. Of course, most souls will be good for most of these champions, but dragon stacking definitely a win condition now for OMG, who might actually love to force these fights around these congested, situations neutrally in the river. For as far behind as Zac is, if you can land one, good jump onto 3 people, get that Lulu ult out early, your Aphelios can really clean up here. Yone's a big damage dealer as well, as we've been talking about. Plenty of tools. Yeah. Question now for EDG. Do you want to utilize this Trundle pressure? Because it's just kind of been used on Hery on the bot side here.
ZDZ is going to clear out the wave, but Hery now about to go Mega. A little too dangerous to dive by himself. I want to stress how if Leave and Parukia do not have the Strundle nearby to interrupt the Elastic Slingshot with Pillar, then it's up to Parukia to be precise with the Wild Growth in order to deny the Elastic Slingshot from connecting and setting up the massive burst combo. Because with Proto Belt, there is decent AP ratios on Zack's abilities, and it's a lot of upfront burst followed by the finisher of the Moonlight Vigil. Haichao might be in trouble. Pillar does not interrupt the Fate Sealed, and Haichao makes it out alive.
Yeah, you can definitely not afford to get picked at this point in the game. We're talking about Xiaohao being really kind of needing to make plays on the map right now. You want to make sure you are not the one who is getting targeted. Haichao doing a good job to be able to get himself out of that situation. Rio now getting back into the game. He's going to smite that red buff down. This gold lead has neutralized in the jungle. And as much as we talk about this Trundle being really effective in the late game, you know, it's not like he can just immediately stop the Aphelios from being able to play. Still plenty of ways for OMG to figure it out. Hook lands.
Oh, Parukia! And because he is stunned by the death sentence, he cannot interrupt the Elastic Slingshot with his Wild Growth. Comes out a little too late. Starry now on his 5th kill of this game 4.
We're hyping up Starry a ton. Moham has been excellent this game on the Thresh and finding these angles to be able to pick all of these overreachers. This is what OMG was doing super well in games 1 and 2 that they were able to win, was punish mistakes. And that's what EDG are doing right now. They're making consistent mistakes. Haichao just pressuring out Angel so much under this tower. Oh, and he's got a flash.
Rio from Fog of War comes in flying and forces Angel to use his flash. That is now a victor without any get out of free jail card. Maybe for OMG, they can look to punish as we watch once again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's perfectly played, right? It's the hook landing, it's the follow-through coming in. The heal even coming down onto the Zack is massive at this point in the game. I mean, this is like actually a very, very hard comp to deal with if you are not constantly warding every single brush, especially with Moham playing so aggressive. Starry is very difficult to punish because of the Lantern from Thresh as well. OMG have a plenty of tools to play across the map, but with objectives spawning now. Of course, Baron up 30 seconds ago. Dragon in just over a minute as we speak here. That will be soul point for OMG. They definitely want to try and corral that area. We're going to be seeing these supports get out on the map with their vision and make sure that they can set up for whichever one they prefer here.
I will say, out of all the tank items you could build on Zack, I think Protoplasm Harness into Trundle makes the most sense because at most he's going to get more max HP with the Drain, but you're not getting any resistances initially if he subjugates you right at the beginning, because you only get those resistances once the Lifeline Shield is popped in battle. And if you're waiting until then as the Trundle to subjugate, it's probably not happening, right? So it's...
Yeah.
Look, we came out very aggressively against this Zack pick, and we were even more distraught when we found out it was AP, but logically, it makes the most sense for Rio, and when I thought about other AP jungle picks, maybe this is just what Rio had left in the tank. Diana probably doesn't work as well for OMG to be able to force reliable engages because her engage is ult dependent. Not the same here for Rio. He can always just use a basic ability to find long-range engages, and they're burning down this dragon. No chance for Xiaohao to contest. OMG are at 3 dragons at 22 minutes.
It's a free soul point for OMG. They chunk out the Trundle, and this is what I'm talking about. Haichao has so much pressure on this map right now. The Trundle can't walk up to the Yone, and that's not something you thought you were going to say after how this early game ended up going. You know, we did criticize the draft. I criticized the Zack pick in particular, but there is no denying that Yone Aphelios is terrifying to have to try and play into, and I love this build from the Zack. I think this might be the best possible build in this particular instance for this champion to have as much use in the late game as you can. OMG, I mean, they're down 1.2k gold, but 2.6 thousand of that is on Nidalee on the top side. Triforce and Sundered Sky completed, but this champion is not going to be able to 1v9 these fights. You're kind of losing in gold almost everywhere else. Xiaohao, of course, still up in gold, but Not notably, as Moham again.
Play. Oh, doesn't find Leave with the prediction on the death sentence, and Moham is overextended. ZDZ comes in and tears him apart. Rio could be next as he's pulled. Proto Belt meets the elastic slingshot. That was an insane combo. Unfortunately, Starry and Hery cannot follow up just quite yet. And Angel completely eviscerates the pile of goo on the floor. OMG. Now down without their support, no jungler. EDG are gonna rip this Baron.
OMG, they're committing to this play. They're TPing in. I don't understand. They've overcommitted and they're about to lose Baron for it.
Haichao still has Fate Sealed available. He needs to pull off a miracle alongside Starry. 6,000 HP, there's still time. ZDZ caught up maybe by Hery out the back line. Haichao goes deep with the Fate Sealed, returns back. Hery cannot follow up. And Starry in a 1v1 against ZDZ getting zoned off by the Nidalee top. ZDZ making that investment pay off. Moonlight Vigil hits onto multiple members, but not enough damage to really send them packing. EDG get everything that they wanted.
It's a disaster for OMG. They had the game in the palm of their hands and they throw it away. Whatever the re-engage is from Rio is a disaster. No Yone in the area at all for that fight. That is what ends up really being the big decider. Moham fails the engage here, which is obviously not good at all. It's a huge, huge mistake from the Thresh, but at this point your support is dead and the fight is over. But Rio commits, he sees the angle. Even after stopping the windup and Leave doing all this damage, he flashes in to go for the full combo. And yes, it's a lot of damage, it burns the Lulu Wolf, but where is my Yone? He's TPing in, there's no damage to be able to play off of that engage. It's completely wasted, Rio dies for no reason, and now Baron is on EDG's side.
Rio winding up for the elastic slingshot. Oh boy. Dark Passage saves him from certain death. EDG continuing the siege onto this mid-tier 1, and thanks to that cannon empowered by the Baron buff, it brings it to one hit away from being knocked down. ZDZ now pushing through the bottom side of the map. Recognizing how far ahead he is and how he needs to now itemize defensively is going into that Randuin so that he doesn't get one-shot by the Aphelios whenever he goes in for the 1v1. Pillar onto Haichao. Rio tags him with the arm and ensures that his mid laner gets out alive.
It is a brutal, brutal siege down here by EDG. They are so tanky at this point in the game. Nidalee, it's going to be so hard to kill. Xiaohao, it's going to be so hard to kill. Lulu only makes that even worse.
There's the wild growth. Perfectly timed to interrupt the elastic slingshot, just like we talked about. And when EDG are ready and they are anticipating the Zac engage, they can deny it. And those are the breaks. There are moments in this game where OMG definitely surprised us with this pick, but now that EDG have gained control of the game, they are now up 6,000 gold, and they are aware of how aggressive Rio is going to be. They're a bit quicker on the reaction to lock him down.
Yeah, quick is an understatement. It's instant. Rio appears on the screen and he is immediately shut down by either the pillar or the Lulu ultimate or whatever you need to do in order to make that Zac useless. You know, this pick is really, it's had some good moments in this game. It's been able to set up the Aphelios well in terms of ganks, but in these team fights, as you pointed out, Raafaa, it is just not finding the angles that it needs to. That giant gold lead you had on Starry, it's completely neutralized. Leave is essentially completely even, both sitting at 3 items now. And that is a problem. If this Yunara is going to be able to catch up and play front to back, your front line's worse, which makes this fight even harder.
If you're able to synchronize them with multiple engages, like Yone ultimate, Gnar in mega form approaching from a flank and baiting out some of these other cooldowns, I can see it. But OMG are not able to be in a position in this moment where the Baron buff has been on EDG's side. They get the siege, and now that they have control of all these side lanes, OMG will not get a chance to be able to pick up that Cloud Soul for themselves. EDG deny it and stall out that win condition for another 5 minutes.
This is going to be one of those games. Oh, Haichao on Angel. He's got to burn the Zhonya's here, burn the stopwatch. The Seekers, as Haichao just continuing to pressure out. This Yone still is massive. Still going to be hard for this champion to be taken down as he ults his way out of there. But This is going to be one of those games that people point to like, yeah, this is why we give over Soul Point for free. And I want to let everyone at home know, no, don't do that. Don't give Soul Point over for free just because you're winning side lanes and you think you'll be able to fight over the next one. Not usually a strategy that works, but a 4-0-1 Victor, a Yunara that is getting online, a Nidalee that is crushing the top side now with that Randuin's completed. That will certainly help, and this 5k gold lead is very, very real. Xiaohao as well getting a Randuin's. This Aphelios' effectiveness is going down by the minute. Same thing for the Yone. Just going to be a very difficult game from here on out for OMG.
Things have slowed down in the past couple of minutes. Haichao, oh no, no Fate Sealed available. I don't think he's going to be able to flash out of this one. Q3 gets him barely over the pillar, and Angel slows him down long enough alongside Xiaohao's Trundle. Big pickup for EDG. There's no major objectives to take for the next 45 seconds, but Baron will be spawning around that time, and it will give EDG all the time they need to set up vision control and make sure that the Baron approach for OMG is extremely difficult to do.
The control over this top side is really important for EDG as we get a little chance to see what exactly transpired here. Haichao is going to get caught. Moham, very weird mechanic there. Going to essentially pull through the pillar, but it's not going to land in the way that maybe you would want. 7k gold lead now for EDG as they take down this top tier 2. You talked about the setups. They're going to have plenty of tools as we see them try and get vision around this river. Baron would be a nightmare for OMG to have to play into. They don't really do well going backwards as Gnar, Zac, and Thresh. You know, there are tools that they can play with, but having to face check into a river that they have no vision of, they have no ability to actually play through. Going to be very, very tough for them. They need to make sure that they can step up and continue to play aggressive, even if it hasn't worked out so far.
Almost 7,000 gold ahead for EDG at the 30-minute mark. Starry has access to both Flash and Ghost, trying to step up aggressively, push ZDZ back. TP is coming in as well. Haichao joins up with the OMG squad. Dragon Soul not online for another 2 minutes, but they want to get first wave push so that they can walk into the Baron River together and try and regain control. Rio in darkness right now, has an angle for an elastic slingshot if he wants to dive once the turret falls. Actually looks on the left side. Wait, Angel caught up! But Angel is able to push Hery back. Meanwhile, the Wild Growth is aggressing on the Starry. He's forced to flash backwards, and he cannot deal with the Trundle, who is just chomping and beating his head in with a giant club. OMG start to collapse once their major carries are eliminated from the Rift. Haichao being flashed on by Angel, and he's trying to sustain off of the Yone passive, but it's just not going to happen. Rio and Hery take out ZDZ and Xiaohao in the crossfire. And somehow it just might be enough for OMG to still push through on this tier 1 turret and have the vision control necessary for both of these objectives.
It's actually not a bad fight at all from OMG. It looks disastrous at the start when Starry whiffs his ultimate, but it ends up turning well once Leave over-aggresses and gets picked off by Starry early on in this fight. The pillar is gorgeous at this point. Starry tries to throw out the ultimate to dissuade the engage, but it just doesn't land. The ult goes down onto Xiaohao, but the follow flash from Leave is bad, and he ends up getting taken down. As much as Xiaohao is doing a lot of damage here, Starry has already done quite a bit, getting this Trundle to half health with no Lulu ultimate, and while he does fall, that's more than enough to allow this Gnar-Zac combo to be able to clean up the Trundle and the Nidalee eventually in this fight. Unfortunately for Haichao, he's just not landing any of his abilities on the other side. If he had hit ultimate on Victor, we could be seeing a bit of a different fight. Alas, not the way that things are going. Still overall okay for EDG, but they definitely lose some of that gold lead they had generated for themselves.
It's so insane that Xiaohao is still like almost 2,000 gold ahead of Rio, and it's just because while Rio got like 2 shutdown bounties, Xiaohao also got a massive one off of Starry's head. So that it just ends up almost evening out and still allowing Xiaohao to be ahead of the Zac in terms of items. But Rio's starting to get tankier and tankier and still has a decent amount of AP in his build that the burst that comes out is reasonable. And if you don't have any MR, you have to respect it.
They're going for Baron. They are forcing this.
Xiaohao is going Gonna be able to face check into the Baron pit. It is being ripped apart. Xiaohao cannot get in. Haichao stalls it long enough. Can he get in for this fight? Xiaohao steals it away. This time gets the better end of Rio in the Baron pit. And OMG's Baron attempt is completely foiled. EDG can deny Cloud Soul once again, and Angel is already committed, pushing through the bottom side of the map.
Oh, it's just the worst case scenario for OMG. It's a great call. It's something that EDG have done to multiple teams throughout this split, which is to say, hey, you want the dragon? Great. We're going to rush this Baron and force you to make a decision to either fight us around this or give it to us for free. EDG say, nah, we're just going to smite it away from you, walk away. We'll take the dragon anyways. It's a last-ditch effort from OMG that does not come up well. EDG, Xiaohao, what a game from him. It's been a fantastic back end of the series for EDG's veteran jungler, and he is really, really continuing to be the difference maker for them.
We talked about how important this jungle matchup was going to be spotlighted in this series. Rio definitely getting the better end of Xiaohao in games 1 and 2. But ever since you mentioned that his effective jungle pool has been already used in the first 2 drafts, and every game afterwards, Rio is playing a unique champion for Tier 1. Xiaohao has now gotten the better end of the deal and has been able to outperform his jungle opponent. Death sentence from Moham, 3-man flay into the box, maybe enough to kill Parukia. It's a 1-for-1 support trade. Haichao is able to get the credit kill gold for it, but Leave over the wall is ready to push them back, and OMG can't do anything about it to punish an overextended Yunara. Everyone from EDG has got his back this time. They're pushing through with the Baron buff on their side. Inhibitors will fall through top and mid. Haichao, no Fate Seal available, Q3 at the ready. Rio looking for a backline engage once again, but whiffs on the elastic slingshot, and he's getting pelted down by the auto attacks. Haichao contributes 1 Q3, but that's it. He's got nothing else to give. Rio will fall to ZDZ, and EDG are ready to take this series all the way to game 5. Hery, Starry, and Haichao are the last ones standing to try and defend this base from crumbling.
Oh,
but
he's
Xiaohao
dead.
is forced to come back. Haichao on to ZDZ, looking for lethal. ZDZ just too tanky on the Nidalee to die. OMG do not lose the game just yet, but EDG are putting them in the final stages to be knocked down.
I mean, it's not the end of the game, but it's pretty darn close. Starry able to survive early on in that fight, not pop his GA. Has just enough health to be able to go back and heal and be able to push them back and keep the game alive for a little bit longer. I don't know how much longer, though, as Hery's just going to try to get any gold on the map right now that he can get. Starry will continue to push out. Their base is completely exposed. They need to be very careful. One fight will be the end of the game, but at the very least, they've got a couple of minutes to be able to compose themselves after what looked like it was going to be the end of game number 4.
Staring down an 8.5 thousand gold advantage. OMG have only one Nexus turret separating EDG from a game 5. Objectives are not spawning for another 2 minutes. And OMG are just desperately holding on. They still have a very, very strong Aphelios who now has a GA in his inventory to try and give him a second chance to make the difference and close the series out now. Try and make a miracle comeback down this much gold, and EDG are doing everything they can to make sure that does not happen.
I mean, it's just defense right now. There's no objective on the map to fight over. We can sit in base, catch these waves, hopefully stall the game out. 1:30 on what will be Soul for OMG, Soul point for EDG. Theoretically, that could be a way back in the game, but it looks decently hopeless. I don't even know if you can fight over that. You might just need to give over that dragon, stay in base, and make sure that you are not losing the game as these waves continue to crash. Again, your base is entirely cracked open, but with the new season, that is potentially fixable for OMG later on in the game. They just have to make sure they can stall this out enough to get them there.
Rio, winding up the elastic slingshot, will not pull the trigger. Just allows OMG to absorb the wave. It's gone for now. Dragon spawning in 42 seconds. Baron in 1 minute and 10. This game feels like it's been 50 minutes, Kman, and it's only been 37 minutes. It's just a crazy, crazy time we live.
See, you point out
right now.
You point out that it's 37 minutes. Starry has 488 CS. Like, this Aphelios is absolutely ginormous. I mean, this is level 18, full build, unbelievable Aphelios, and he's looking around at his team like, hey, man, can I get anyone to step up and help me play out this game? That's what's made this feel like 2,000 years, if you will, for Aphelios here, is just the sheer amount of gold that he's been able to generate and just how little it's mattered. See if he can turn that into something later on in this one.
Mm-hmm. And if you thought Red Gun was oppressive enough in terms of the lifesteal, he now has a BT in his inventory. He's trying to do everything he can to make himself as unkillable as possible. GA for the second life, Bloodthirster for the lifesteal. Starry is pulled away from the Victor's Arcane Storm. Rio caught out by the pillar. Haichao chunked to 50% HP. Good redemption. Heals him back up. Leave now on the offensive. Chunking out Rio. Holy camole. That was a lot of damage from the Yunara. OMG trying to reposition now and wait out some of these tools from EDG.
This is a very, very tense dance. Starry is already half health. This would be a very ill-advised fight from OMG. Teleport coming in. They have to be so careful here. Starry
flashing forward, looking for Angel. The Moonlight Vigil. It's a whiff. OMG star 80 carry cannot make the difference here. Was looking for the highlight play. And unfortunately, it falls flat. EDG unthreatened by the attempt. And now Starry does not have a summoner spell to be able to get away from certain death.
I can see the angle that he sees. He sees it as the only opportunity to get a fair fight. It's going to be a hard Baron to take.
Haichao. Can he find someone with a pillar? Immediate flash by Moham just to respect the potential catch out. ZDZ has teleported back in, and he's on the prowl, hunting around and clearing out vision on the top side of that jungle quadrant entrance. Rio is going to step up and be seen in vision. Haichao is not here. He has teleport available. Baron at 7,000 HP. Hery getting chunked out. Almost about to go Mega. Needs to use it for the HP pool. Arcane Storm available again. OMG are pushed out by Victor from Angel. But the Baron was dropped. It's fully reset. OMG, they're just pushing through mid. It's time to play a gambit. You have to now pull EDG back to you. As they can try and retreat through the bottom side jungle quadrant, but Moham is caught out by the pillar. That traffic cone cuts off his escape route, guarantees a numbers advantage for EDG. 5-4 on the map for the next 46 seconds.
It's such a tough game to play. I respect the call from OMG, but EDG will pick up the Baron. They will accelerate their gold lead even further. Not that gold really matters at this point in the game. You are really starting to get to full item builds for a lot of these carries as we reach the 40-minute mark. Second Baron of the game for EDG. Can they close it out with this one as opposed to the first? That we will have to wait and see. That Trundle Pillar, man. Has there been a more valuable ability in this entire game than that Trundle Pillar? It is constantly winning fights for EDG over and over again. But it's going to have to keep doing so.
Yeah, I mean...
Starry is just huge, man.
LPL broadcast pointing out that he took Gathering Storm, and it is paying off in value as he's getting more and more AD. He's over 500! 536 AD. Holy! That is...
Yeah, if this guy hits an ultimate, it will be devastating. It will truly, truly break through the front line here of EDG. That's what makes this game so interesting. As much as it feels like it's in EDG's grasp, if they make one mistake, everything could get flipped at this point in the game as they start to siege down this bot lane inhibitor.
They have wars over the wall. Death Sentence does not land on any target. Baron Empowered Cannon Minion is destroyed. Pillar.
Oh,
Death Sentence right onto Xiaohao. Can they one-shot him right here, right now? Starry throws up the Moonlight Vigil. Xiaohao survives. Hery's into the backline. Tries to look for Leave. Leave is getting eviscerated, but Angel trades onto Hery. It's a 1-for-1 so far. ZDZ might be isolated, but he's really tanking on the Nidalee, so does not die in one full spell combo. Rio trying to slow him down. Uses the smite just to get distance on him. ZDZ sidestepping another elastic slingshot. Tries to flash away from the stretchy arms, but gets pulled in anyway. Angel pushing them back with the laser. Dragon not up for another 55 seconds. OMG are just trying to brute force this down the mid lane while they still have Starry, while they still have a numbers advantage. 4-3. EDG, they're gonna have to defend the base from crumbling.
There's 20 seconds left on these death timers. OMG have a lot of damage. They could potentially try to end the game here if they really wanted to.
Will they go far for it? Oh my goodness, they're gonna try and go for broke. OMG have to solve for 13 seconds. It might not be enough. Rio goes back in for the engage. Last of Sing-Son on a 2. Haichao tries to follow up. Angel goes golden. He's about to get blasted by a Moham. Xiaohao's gonna fall next. No way it ends like this. CDC is still up. Leave is back up from the grave. TP is coming in. A full HP bar from this Nor will allow them to push in further.
Leave.
Rio gets his passive pop. Leave has to be a hero against the wild growth, but that's so much damage from OMG. You have got to be kidding me. OMG have just done the unthinkable. Coming back from a 9,000 gold advantage game, and they are still 5-man strong. They're gonna look to push it and close out the series. That's the ace. OMG persists through the impossible, and oh my god, they fucking did it.
Oh my god, Raafaa! I cannot believe what we just saw. The most unbelievable comeback that I have seen in the LPL in 2026. OMG have done it from relegation to winning a play-in series. They're one series away from making it to Group Ascend. Goodness gracious. OMG. Come on, man.
Cinema. Holy. The tenacity. The persistence. The courage to continue pushing through and finding small windows to exploit. This is not a veteran roster from OMG. This is being powered and driven forward by a rookie jungler and a sophomore AD carry from the OMG's talent developmental pipeline. They are the ones alongside very discounted members in Hery, Haichao, and Moham, who had very, very poor 2025 seasons. Moham and Hery on that OMG roster that got relegated at the end of Split 2. Haichao on the LNG roster was considered one of the worst mids by the end of 2025. They just took down Edward Gaming from a 9,000 freaking gold deficit. How is that possible?
You know how it's possible? Determination. Heart. Never giving up. That's what OMG is embodying right now. This was a team that was pushed aside at the start of this split. They were in last place in Group Nirvana. This split for good sections of the regular season. They're not done. This team is getting better every game. They are so resilient. They are so strong in these team fights. They executed incredibly well. We questioned the Zac, and while the Zac was questionable, let's be honest, the Zac, had the moments. That comp worked in the late game. That Aphelios. You want to talk about a franchise player who's been there through everything, through the relegations, through, trying to find their way back, through the Demacia Cup success, all of it. Starry is that guy for OMG. There have been a lot of people that have talked about potential up-and-coming AD carries in the LPL. This is a guy who has never gotten the opportunity to showcase that he can be in that conversation, but what a statement today that he more than deserves to be there.
And for EDG on the other side, I mean, you saw it in the player cams. As soon as they realize what just happened, before the Nexus even exploded, before the Nexus turrets were even being sieged upon, they realized that they had just thrown away their chance of bringing it to a Game 5. It is heartbreaking, and as someone who has been very excited about this EDG roster since Parukia joining back on Split 3, I will be the first to say, this is unacceptable for EDG to lose in this fashion. Going from the heights that they were achieving in Group Nirvana, Split 3, to now what is happening now, oh my god, do deserve all the credit, all the praise. They straight up outplayed them. Rio, after a devastating start on this AP Zac jungle, still best Xiaohao in the end. Still forcing plays, still looking for engages alongside to set up his carries in Haichao and Starry. If you're EDG, it is just unacceptable. This roster was meant for better, and I think the reality is going into Split 2, there's going to be changes made, because this addition and leave was supposed to take them over the finish line after On couldn't do that in their playoffs run in Split 3. I don't know what the changes are going to be, but I would not be surprised if they consider this bot lane again.
Yeah, it's just so tough, man. EDG was the hottest team in Group Perseverance heading into the play-in stage. They had won 4 series in a row. They had beaten Ninjas in Pajamas. They had beaten WE. And yet here we are, sitting here talking about them as a team that can't get it done again, that will be in Group Nirvana again, and will probably do really well for themselves in Group Nirvana again, only to hope to get into Group Ascend at some point this year. It just doesn't seem to come together for this organization. There have been major question marks about every part of this org, from the specific players to the coaching staff, that has been very heavily criticized for EDG over the past couple of years. And you want to talk about a series where they should have been more clinical, where they should have had better execution. You're playing an OMG team that is really getting their first taste of actual like playoff caliber, play-in caliber games right now. A lot of these players have never been in this situation. You are a team full of veterans. Angel has been to World Finals before. These are players that should not be struggling in moments like this, and yet we're sitting here talking about, do they have the decision making? Why are they making the same mistakes? It's unacceptable for this EDG team. I don't know what the future holds for them, but this has to be one of the most gut-wrenching losses for this organization that they've had in recent memory.
Definitely one of the most impressive for OMG on the other side of the rift. I now want to see if OMG, with this audacious lineup and the playstyle that they boast, can beat IG. And I think they can, because IG are definitely our least consistent group ascend team. Because of the way dynamic seeding works, we know that LNG now can either thank or be mad at OMG for taking away the IG opponent, depending on what LNG would have preferred. But they'll be playing against WE in the final round, and IG will be playing against a reinvigorated and, quite frankly, a terrifying OMG roster.
I mean, if you're Invictus Gaming, you're terrified. I'm going to be honest, I'm scared of this matchup. Not because, I think OMG is the kind of team that can go on and win the LPL. I think, obviously, it's really fun to see the way they're playing, but IG is in horrible form, and you want to talk about a team that is white hot. I don't know if there is a white hotter team in the league right now. Maybe LNG, but OMG is right up there with anybody in terms of just how well they've been playing over the past couple of series. And man, some of these matchups scare me. Starry was fantastic today. Fodak and Jue have not been consistent for Invictus. You're talking about a mid lane matchup that's not been great. Ricky has not been very good over the course of this split. He needs to start getting back into form. Haichao was, maybe not the key factor today for OMG, but is a big piece. This is genuinely a matchup that you're scared of if you are an Invictus Gaming fan, and I did not think we were going to be anywhere close to saying that.
A lot of the strengths are actually leaning towards OMG's favor based on where the only point that you can even look at that will be advantage for IG is going to be jungle, because Wei, despite all the inconsistencies about IG's performance this first split, Wei still remains to be the driving force behind the team. And if he has a good game, then it's usually easy for IG to follow through him. But we just saw what happened when a similar team in EDG, where if Xiaohao gets a good lead, then they get the massive snowball, and then it should be just curtains after that. But that did not happen in games 2 and games 4 from this series.
It's, it's insane. This team doesn't quit. They are fighting their way I mean, I cannot stress enough, these guys were given up on. I mean, not this org, these players, like these were players that nobody expected to be in this position. I mean, people were criticizing this OMG roster for running back, you know, multiple of their players from last year. Here they are, one series away from being top 8 in playoffs. They have a real shot to be able to take down Invictus, you know, top lane, bot lane. These are matchups that really aren't all that, you know, out of the realm of possibility to pick up. Man, I'm just so excited. OMG being one of the historic organizations in the LPL. We sometimes forget that, but like this is truly like one of the LPL orgs of all time. Like when you're talking about WE and, you know, Invictus Gaming, like OMG is right there, having been there from the beginning of Chinese League of Legends. And it's been a rough couple of years for this org after what was that really fun young rookie roster kind of got revamped in 2024. They found their way back into at least semi-contention here, and really, if they can get into Group Ascend, that's just the icing on top of the cake at this point.
Truly exciting times to be witnessing LPL. Not so much if you're an EDG fan. You're definitely on the down end of the dumps right now, but that's esports, baby. And sometimes the unexpected does happen at the cost of others' happiness. I believe we should be getting player of the game and player of the match, which is what I'm curious about. I feel like player of the game will be Starry on the Aphelios. It could also be, I mean, early on, Moham was dictating a lot of the picks. I don't know if you can reasonably give Rio player of the game. Yes, this Zac was game warping in moments that allowed OMG to come back, but also I feel like if it has to be Starry, because Starry was the reason why they were still kind of in it to begin with.
To me, there's no conversation. I mean, Starry won this game. I'm not going to say it was a 1v9, because you're right. There were a lot of moments in the later part of this game that, you know, I think the rest of the team played well in and had a lot of great setups for. They're not given the chance to do that if Starry is not as good as he was in this game. I mean, his positioning, the ultimates we can ignore. I don't think he hit a single ultimate in this game. But, you know, outside of that...
There's a couple.
Yeah, there was one or two, especially earlier in the game, that I think were pretty important. But that's how impressive that is. He was able to 1v9 a lot of these fights. He didn't even need to maximize the damage. His positioning was great. His kiting was great. The team's ability to peel for him was fantastic. And at the end of the day, like, Starry was the win condition, and they won this game because of him. To me, he's player of the series. I think even when you go back and look at the earlier games in this series as well,
100%.
He just had such a big impact today, and just really cool to see for him.
If Rio wasn't put in the dirt early on this Zac, I could easily see him being player of the series, because his first 2 games were so insane that like it would have made sense. But Starry consistently, even quiet, performing when the team is creating all the space and the plays for him, and then in the moment when everyone is kind of on the back foot, he's the one that steps forward. He's looking for the flash plays and trying to bait out cooldowns. They don't always land, but he's still on the aggressive, forcing important spells to be used, and it's warping the game even when they're down 7,000, 8,000 gold. I just cannot understate that enough. They were out of the game. They should have been out of the game. EDG were one Baron push away from closing it out. They were one Nexus turret away from just hitting the freaking Nexus.
And that, who saved that fight? Starry. Starry survives in the initial engage, ends up being able to take down Leave on the after he heals up through the fountain, and they have to disengage. That game is over if he is not outplaying Leave in that exchange. Both of them full item. Both of them 7-item, you know, carries at this point, like ready to go. Unbelievable performance from this guy. 84% KP, 41% damage percentage in a game that goes 45 minutes. Ridiculous. I mean, just absurd stuff. Like, these are stats that naturally get lower as the games go longer, because it's hard to be involved with more kills and all the KP. It's hard to do more damage on games that naturally spread out evenly. That's how important he was to OMG in this one.
Starry with player of the game. Give him player of the series. Just do it. Player of the match. There's one shout out to Moham and one shout out to Rio Zach. Respect.
Somebody was always voting for the Zach, that I can tell you. They were voting for the Zach no matter what. Deserved. Starry was excellent today.
Dude, I even forgot about his awesome Ashe performance. The way he was space gliding, and even after getting engaged on, and then he's just flashing forward after getting hit by stunts. Like, that is nightmare fuel, but also just Giga Chad as hell. But ladies and gentlemen, that means our broadcast for tonight's coverage has come to a close. Insane results from this series. LNG over Thunder Talk. Expected. There was some fight in Thunder Talk, which was, a little bit surprising, but the real surprise. And for anyone that is now watching the VOD after waking up in the morning and going, what the hell, OMG 3-1 EDG? Well, you're going to have a good time going back through this VOD and checking out the games, because I think, in all seriousness, OMG are showing a side that could be strong enough to take down IG and qualify not only to playoffs for Split 1, but also to Group Ascend in Split 2. Something that OMG has not been able to do in quite some time. Well, I think the last time OMG were that competitive was probably the rookie iteration of that roster back in, is it 2023, 2024?
Yeah, it's that 2023 year with Cream and Shanji and Aki. Again, this has been an org that has struggled over the past couple of years to maintain their form, to be consistent. Here we are. OMG is back, and they are back with a vengeance.
And what a better time with more developmental talent in the pipeline. Suddenly things are starting to look very similar to prior OMG peak eras. But with the end of our broadcast, that means it is the end of our show. But before we close everything out, we want to give a massive thank you and shout out to our elite coffee supporters in Aaron Soup and Mung, because their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an English LPL product every single day. On behalf of myself, Kman, our wonderful producer, Ice Fire Ride, and the rest of the LPL English staff and crew, thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's coverage of LPL. We'll be back same time tomorrow for our final two best of fives between LNG and WE and IG and OMG. You don't want to miss it. See y'all there.